Everything feels heavy lately. War, rising costs, general tension, and hatred out there in the world, violence. And at some point you start to wonder, is something actually breaking out there? Even though things in some ways feel the same. The same corrupt systems, the same war machine, the same societal stressors. And then there's everything within you. Everything that you feel changing. And despite all the darkness out there, some of the light that you come across day to day. These wavering feelings and emotions, they aren't just in your head. They're a reflection of what's going on in the world. But here's the catch. What if I told you that all of that stuff that is bubbling its way up to the surface and it's more and more intense, what if it's meant to show us where we're getting it wrong? And what if it's our opportunity to actually make meaningful change? The common thread in this video is duality. Two things can be true at once. The world can feel overwhelming, chaotic, unjust, and people can be waking up, choosing to evolve, choosing to live differently. Moments like this in Earth's history create a contrast, and that contrast creates clarity eventually. Because when everything's on the table, we all, individually, collectively, get to decide the lives we want to live, the way we want to show up in the world, and the world we'd ultimately like to see. Have you noticed that everything feels heavy lately? Every time you open your phone, war, rising costs, general tension, and hatred out there in the world, violence. And at some point you start to wonder, is it just me, or is something actually breaking out there? Even though things in some ways feel the same. The same corrupt systems, the same war machine, the same societal stressors. And then there's everything within you. Everything that you feel changing. And despite all the darkness out there, some of the light that you come across day to day. These wavering feelings and emotions, they aren't just in your head. They're a reflection of what's going on in the world. The constant, everlasting wars, the global conflicts that just never seem to really change. Even if the players change, the playbook always seems the same. And the outcome is usually pretty similar. More people die, poor people die, rich people live, and make money off of the whole thing. The more we see of that, the harder it is to accept that we're doing better as a society. The lack of accountability. The Epstein files come up for me in particular when I think of that. My God, is my neighbor screaming? What the fuck is wrong with these people? Can't even leave the door open for some fresh air, my gosh. Sounds like a bunch of animals out there. And some days, it feels that way. Let's face it. There's a lack of accountability. The Epstein files come up in particular, of course. The only person who seems to be in trouble is Pam Bondi, who seems to be the one helping cover things up. Anyways, there's always a scapegoat. You know what I mean? The real people who should be accountable are never really held accountable. That's the way it feels right now. Those moments where you expect truth or justice, you don't quite get it. Maybe we're getting the truth part to a certain extent. Certainly not the whole truth, given all the redactions and probably file deletions, but we get a sense of the bigger picture of what was going on there, right? The cost of living pressure. The health insurance hike alone, from the Affordable Care Act credits going away, and feel how you're going to feel about the Affordable Care Act, but those credits were keeping the health costs lower for people. So, that change has been very abrupt since January when everybody got those letters. And now with war, our fuel costs are skyrocketing, and grocery prices, everything that involves transporting goods, everything's going to go up. So your groceries, just regular consumer goods, stuff on Amazon probably going to go up. It's a lot of pressure to sustain when, let's face it, in America, we are already bootstrapping it to begin with. It's not subtle differences anymore. It just feels suffocating. And then there's the political stagnation. Whether it's left or right, nothing ever seems to get accomplished in Congress or in general in our government. And then the bills they do pass usually take something away from someone. So what gives, everybody? Why can't we just figure this shit out? And here in America in particular, we have that corporate dominance. And that's probably a big part of the problem with the stagnation in government, to be honest, because a lot of it is corporately funded by, sometimes it's like directly funded by these corporations, or it's funded by political action committees, these sneaky PACs that have a name that seems so innocuous, but really it's funded by something terrifying. You have to like go several layers back to understand who these people are. They're like a shell of a shell of a shell sometimes. And so it feels like nothing's happening because the very systems that we've allowed to just take all the money and all the power, they're kind of, keeping things the way that they are. And that has a human cost globally. Isolation, dehumanization, fear, violence. The war machine is hungry, and it's always coming for someone's sons and daughters. Hey there, what's up? My name's Ashley. I'm a life coach helping people who are going through big life shifts, spiritual awakening, and trying to find their purpose. I also help people who are ADHD or autistic find their purpose, find their flow, and live a life that aligns with who they are and how they function. So if any of that sounds like you, subscribe to the channel, like this video. I put out new content every week about self-improvement, about the weird, wacky world out there, about spiritual concepts, and about just everyday things you can do to improve. If anyone's interested, I have a Spotify playlist called The Time of Troubles. It's got a lot of stuff from like Vietnam era. It's got some System of a Down. It's got songs about peace as well. I find that it's been healing to listen to these songs. They seem more relevant than ever, all over again. And that's where we're at today. There's just this growing sense that the way we're living isn't working. But here's the catch. What if all of that stuff that's happening, all that turmoil, it's so visceral, right? You can't just go and go back to your phone anymore. You have to stop and pay attention. And well, sometimes you are watching it on your phone unfold, but you can't just skip on to the next thing anymore. First world problems, so to speak. You become less concerned about those things and more concerned about, oh my God, what is going on out there? But what if I told you that all of that stuff that is bubbling its way up to the surface and it's more and more intense, what if it's meant to show us where we're getting it wrong? And what if it's our opportunity to actually make meaningful change in this country, on this planet? We all have to share this goddamn rock that is flying through space at, I believe, over 1,000 miles an hour. Look it up. Don't quote me. Look it up. I'm pretty sure that's accurate. And I don't know if that's like the ultimate trajectory speed or the spinning speed. I think there might be a difference in the two. But point being, we all have to share this rock. And we have a lot more in common than we think. We also have problems that we could be solving together without letting our politics and our style of government and what we look like or what God we pray to, it's all the same God. Don't get too freaked out about it. None of that stuff really matters when it comes down to preserving life on planet Earth and thinking about what kind of future as a species that we want. The common theme, the common thread in this video is duality. Two things can be true at once. The world can feel overwhelming, chaotic, unjust, and people can be waking up, choosing to evolve, choosing to live differently. And duality is not a new concept, but it seems like that duality is just louder than ever right now. Moments like this in Earth's history create a contrast, and that contrast creates clarity eventually. Because when everything's on the table, we all, individually, collectively, get to decide the lives we want to live, the way we want to show up in the world, and the world we'd ultimately like to see. I think the key here is, most of the time, we're thinking too small. And we need to think bigger picture, and we need to think present forward. But as usual, there's a trap. I think the biggest trap is politics. Politics used as identity warfare. Train people to attack each other, not talk to each other. It's working, man. It's working. Have you seen the comment section on Literally, it could be a post about something, a cute animal, and somebody's like arguing about some bullshit. Videos online, particularly AI videos that are fake, you know, they're designed to create outrage. And those outrage cycles do not help the situation at all. And they're also designed to keep you emotionally hooked, fall into that rabbit hole. And that's when you lose your judgment, right? You lose your discernment to understand what is real and what is fake. And once you start to believe, go down that road without having a moment of clarity, you can get stuck there. And it can take a long time to unlearn that, man. There are these illusions of control. When something triggers you online, you read a comment that pisses you off, you just fire back and you're like, yeah, I really showed him, whatever. That's an illusion of control. It feels like action, but it doesn't really change anything. It only continues to feed the cycle you're on. Cycles of fear, anger, identity warfare. Here's the distinction you have to make. You can be aware without being consumed by something. And you can care without becoming combative. If you can hold on to those two things and understand them and really try to practice them, you'll see a lot better results. Are you going to be able to reach everyone? Are you going to agree with everyone about everything? No. No. Life would be so boring if we all believed the same thing. We are a consortium of ideas, thinkers, concepts, actions, and not all of them good, that's for sure. There are a lot of people in the world who are violent and unhealed and, unkind. There's a lot of that going on out there. But there's also a lot more good people. Duality is something to observe, not something to lose yourself inside of. And while it's easy to be triggered by the ugliness in the world, the truth is that humans, we have been a warring species since ever. If you look at the way chimpanzees and some of the primates that we likely evolved from, look at the way they treat each other. Yes, they have a lot of things that are positive like we do, strong family bonds and a sense of community and different roles within that little community, intelligence. But they're also very territorial and warring. And, while we might look quite a bit different now, we don't act that much different. And this is where we're a little behind. And we've got to do better if we want to get it all together and quit the BS, man. Just live differently. So that ugliness out there in the world, while it may trigger you because that's not who you are at your core, it's also part of your capacity as a human. We all have a dark edge to us, right? The key to evolution and the key to spiritual healing is to integrate the dark parts of yourself with the light. And then you can live a much more whole life. And the more people that do that, I think the easier it is going to be for us to actually change things out there. And I said before, we're not as divided as we think. We all have to share the planet, the air, the water. We all have to eat. We all have very basic needs that we all share. And even though we may look different, worship different, love different, whatever, have different political parties and systems of government, we all have to do it all together. Isolationism is our enemy, because unity is the thing that overcomes fear and division. And that's what the old systems of Earth, if you want to call them, run from. Fear, division. Our societies have been focused on taking everything we can get, in living in the now, never thinking about the future, never thinking about what's better for everyone, ultimately now and forevermore. We don't really think about that. We're living in the moment, every moment. And that's a good way to live if you have a positive outlook. But if you don't have a positive outlook, you're going to make terrible choices, very short-sighted ones too, that usually, it's like a revolving door. It comes back around and smacks you in the face. We don't need to live like that. It's a conscious choice. Every moment, every choice you make, it's reinforcing one or the other. The true test of how much work you've done on yourself is when life gets really hard, when you get gut punched, when the world out there is so crazy and, come home and there's stuff you have to deal with and it's hard. It's the choices and the reaction you have to those moments that really, really matter. And they really show you how far or maybe where you have to do some work. And that's okay. The awareness is the important part. Because once you're aware, it's easier to make a change. You don't change the world by hating the parts you disagree with. You change it by how you show up inside of it. All that being said, it's pretty hard to stay grounded. So why don't we work on that for a minute? Well, it's important to be aware of what's going on in the world and not just live in a bubble thinking everything's hunky-dory all the time. It's important to be aware, but it's also important to protect your nervous system. When it's time to put the phone down, when it's time to turn the news off, you do have to take a break. Your mental health matters, and you can become aware of what happened today, tomorrow, if you need to. Next, get in tune with your body. Do some breathing exercises, meditate, stretch. I love stretching. I think that's one of the best ways. Stretching is kind of a meditation for me. I hold hip opening poses and stuff for 6, 8, 10 minutes sometimes and just stretch into it and either just breathe or if I want to tune out and watch a funny video or something or listen to something on YouTube, sometimes I do. But yeah, stretching, walking, step outside for a minute. In fact, nature is the other thing. Get out in nature. I mean bare feet on the bare ground, not on cement, on dirt or grass or sand. Let the planet charge you a little bit. Recharge, just relax, and take big, deep breaths. Out there in nature. Protect your attention span. Not every conversation or argument deserves your attention. Again, stay away from the comments section. You're probably not going to find much positivity there, depending on the post. But when you do choose interaction, choose connection over division. Got to have real conversations with real people. Talking shit back and forth online, what does that do for you? Waste your time, your energy, and everybody feels worse about it after. And literally your heart rate can get elevated. You get fired up, and it's I don't even know this dude, There's no reason to waste your time and energy arguing with people online who probably aren't reachable in that sense. I'm not saying it's never happened, but certainly the way you go about it matters there. Don't argue. Don't get invested in negative energy like that. And lastly, focus on your inner work. Your reactions, your patterns, your healing. It's important to show up for the people you love, but if you aren't whole on your own, it's going to be really hard to fully show up for them. So you matter first in that sense. You've really got to take care of yourself and really think about what you need and what you want out of life, out of your job, out of whatever experiences you're having. If you want a different world, you have to become someone who contributes to it. There are 1,000,001 ways to contribute to the world with whatever your gifts, your talents, your knowledge might be. There's always a way to help, and there's always a way to do fulfilling work. So I get it. Yes, there's a lot happening right now. Yes, a lot of it is uncomfortable and disturbing, but you still have agency, you still have choice. You still get to decide how you love, how you think, and how you show up in the world. In a world that feels divided, it's not your job to pick a side. It's to stay grounded enough to not lose yourself in it. The world may be chaotic, but you don't have to be. What you choose, day by day, matters more than you think. So, stay informed, stay aware, but without feeding into fear and division. And think about what you really, really want out of this day, out of this life, out of the world you see out there. What parts of it do you want to stick to? And what parts of it do you want to change between you and the world?